focusing on the memorizing, so using your visual memory as well, and retaining that as well, so being able to hold that information. So when we start talking about pre-phonics skills and we start looking at how we can best prepare children for an SSP and outcomes and things like that, we really need to be looking at these kind of things first. So visual memory, visual attention, auditory attention, and those kind of things. So that's why we played a simple Kim's game. Okay, Andrew, thank you. So what did we as a trust want to improve in phonics? So we basically, it's the same for many trusts and a national thing. Reading and early reading is a key national agenda, okay? It's huge now, and in all Ofsted inspections as well, early reading is a real priority and a key focus. So although we have our SSPs as well, which I've said are the ELS and the Read, Write, Inc., what we really wanted to do was support outcomes, and we do have very good outcomes for our phonics screening as well, trust-wide. But what we wanted to do was we wanted to have that greater impact with those lowest 20% children, right through from on entry into nursery to the children finishing their phonics journey as such. So that includes any children that may, and we don't have many at all, any that may have to resit in year 2. So what are those barriers? We wanted to break those barriers and just make sure we can just understand the reasons why children might not be as fluent in reading and things, and what skills we could teach them to support them and to plug those gaps. Okay, thank you, Andrew. So it came about actually when our deputy CEO was on an inspection herself. She was an Ofsted inspector, and she got Launchpad for literacy recommended to her from another HMI inspector. So Gillian had come back to our trust and told us that, you know, to contact Kirsty Page. So we did, and another director, Roxy Grant, began to work with Kirsty Page and to look at the Launchpad for Literacy toolkit. And then as a trust, we realised actually this is something that would really, really work for us. And we just like the ethos of it, and the way that it became part of your everyday practice, and it also enables leaders, senior leaders, early years leaders, phonics leaders to cater CPD and everything from this toolkit for their own setting as well. So you can really personalise this toolkit, which I think is crucial. So Launchpad is an approach, so it's not a programme of activities to complete. It is a complete approach. It gives you absolutely lots of skills and progression. Okay, so if many of you have seen the large poster that's available when you do join Launchpad for Literacy, you receive a big poster with all the skill sets. But to complement that, you also get on the website, you'll have the skill set handbooks, lots and lots of information about each area of that poster. It focuses on what children can do rather than what they cannot do. So it provides those progressive steps from 2 year plus to where they need to be in the green at 5. Okay, and going into year 1. So it really supports plugging those gaps for year 1 readiness as well, because we want to be breaking down those barriers so that children are as ready for their SSPs as possible from a phonics point of view, but also from a communication and language point of view, and for children with SEN or EAL new to English as well. This toolkit is fantastic. It really supports the nouns and the verbs that we can model within our everyday communication, and also the types of ways that we can communicate as well. It helps identify skill gaps for pupils. So there is a tracker that is available on the website. However, we've developed that further as well with consent from Kirsty Page, actually, and we've changed the tracker across the trust so that we can track what elements of the toolkit have been used in nursery, and then in reception, and then it goes right through school in a colour code if we want it to. Not every child needs to be part of Launchpad for literacy. It could just be a handful of children in each cohort. It would be dependent on your school's, where your school is, if it's in a high level of deprivation, or, you know, it would just depend. You may just have a couple of children, and again, it is not a programme, so it will complement other programmes. So I'll give an example where NELI is a 20-week programme. Launchpad isn't. It does complement NELI if you are using that. It does complement Hanen. It complements WELLCOMM and Talk Boost as well, and anything from ICANN. So you can still use it alongside those other things. And it absolutely values practitioners' professional development. So we've taken areas of this toolkit, which I'll talk about in a moment, and prioritise those for our trust. And then I've already mentioned there's a Launchpad for Literacy website. So here's a large poster. Now you can see that up the sides it'll say at first, and then your systematic preparation, and then at the top it will be green, and that's where the children are ready and they're accessing that SSP. So along the bottom there are some key areas. Okay, so you've got your auditory, which is red like the rainbow strand along the bottom, and it's broken into different areas. You've got a vocabulary section, you've got sentences, you've got your phonological awareness and your visual. Up the side, at first, that's from 2 years. So children need to be doing all those things, and the systematic preparation, all those things, the red and the yellow, to be absolutely ready for an SSP. So if we are getting those children that have started an SSP and they are unable to blend and segment or retain sounds, then we need to be delving, and that's where we as a trust will delve back and look into the toolkit to see where the gaps are. So we have chosen, so Andrew, if you'd just like to move on to the next slide. If you look at the right hand part of it, we have chosen the auditory, the phonological, which is red, the phonological awareness, which is blue, and then the purple one that says visual. Okay, so you can see also that it says at first is your 2+ years, your systematic preparation is 3 and 4 years, and your moving on is 5 years. So you can see from this toolkit that actually your early communication and your pre-phonic skills, everything you do, all that phonological awareness, perhaps in your nurseries, which have been your old phase 1 phonics, how important that is and crucial in giving them different strategies for supporting with that blending and segmenting, and then visual discrimination when it comes to looking at letters and grapheme correspondence. Okay, thanks, Andrew. So when we just refer to that large poster along the bottom where the rainbow colours were, this is a phonological awareness strand, the blue strand. And we can see but by looking at the areas within that, the strands within the phonological awareness, that it relates very well to the pre-phonics, the old phase 1. ELS are currently looking at their phase 1, and Read, Write, Ink just have the flashcards so far. So there is some exposure but not a lot. It's something they will be looking at after they've evaluated more with their phase 6 and the year 2 stuff. So we are still looking at the phase 1 letters and sounds for much of it at the moment. So we can see we've got rhythm and syllable, auditory blending, segmentation, rhyming, alliteration, phoneme identification, and speech sounds. So what we're doing in nursery is we're ensuring that pre-phonics is taught every day as a group time, and we're marrying in that with lots of Launchpad activities, lots of Kim's games, memory games, visual discrimination games as well, actually, within at the end of a small input. So children will get that every day to build up some strategies to get them ready. We're also focusing on auditory, which is the red area on the poster along the bottom. So auditory attention, auditory discrimination, auditory memory, and sequential auditory memory. Sequential auditory memory was our first go-to for children that were unable to blend that were accessing an SSP. And you'll see why in a few slides when I discuss that. And also visual discrimination. So that again will be discussed in more detail, but it's been a real game changer for our staff CPD, for teaching assistants, teachers and phonics leads when using phonics trackers as well to plug gaps. You will see that visual discrimination is something that shows up a lot when you are analysing children's data for phonics and retesting. Okay, thanks, Andrew. So it's implemented, Launchpad for Literacy. How was it implemented? It's in your quality first teaching and your environments and the resources that you already have. Honestly, it's such a it's almost like a bargain, if you like. It's not an expensive program to have. You'll have much of the resources within your settings. So from a cost point of view, it's very, very little, and it's a one-off payment as well. You would use your high quality environment with your continuous and your enhanced provision as well. And it's about those quality interactions that your staff have, which from an EYFS point of view, that is absolutely crucial. Anyway, we are looking at we're stepping away from the observational assessment as such, and it is more a focus now on that absolute quality interaction, knowing what skill set level your children are at and knowing what their individual needs are. And then also, it is all part of your environment and your interaction, but it's those planned opportunities. So although it can be used during your purposeful playtimes and things, and you can be doing it during your phonics, pre-phonics inputs and things, it's also where you can we've made resource packs up for every school in the trust, which again I'll talk about in later slides, and there to support where you may want to pull a few children to do a visual discrimination in like 5-minute little input, or something to do with sequential auditory memory if they haven't quite got something in their SSP. So you can tie in those planned opportunities and deploy your staff effectively. And then again, your incidental opportunities and your drop-ins. Okay, so I would highly recommend this book as well, and it's What Comes Before Phonics. Okay, so it's about our phonics readiness. So we have, I'd just like to mention, as a trust, done lots of other elements of Launchpad, but I felt for this particular presentation, this would be the most important, our thing, because it's what we initially first looked at as a trust, what we wanted to make most impact with, and that was the phonics readiness. So we wanted to nursery, it was all about getting children as soon as they come in as well, and that quality teaching and learning. So it lays the key foundations for pre-phonic skills. So we wanted to really work on auditory attention and the conversational and group skills. And again, that comes into their listening and attention, so the auditory attention and their spoken language. So it's about those absolute skilled staff making that wonderful eye contact, gestures, and building their vocabulary up. So it was the ability to listen, respond, which that underpins everything before phonics. So you can see from this, this is a well sort of, I don't know, it's sort of like a famous picture, really. It's on Google a lot, this, and it's used in a lot of training by Sally Neum. And basically it says about an iceberg, and there's a spoken language, and it's all these things underneath at the bottom of the iceberg that does a journey through that leads them to be able to become fluent readers and writers. So they need to see that functions and forms of print. They need that physical awareness integration, the meta-linguistic awareness, and the ability to symbolize all those pre-phonics skills first. Then they come up onto the left-hand side of the iceberg, and you've got that phonological awareness. So that's your pre-phonics. Then you've got your phonics, which is your SSP, and then it should be becoming fluent readers and writers. So you want them fluently reading at 95% to be fluent readers. Okay, so I would recommend that book. So here I've just snipped on here the phase 1 aspects, and then you can see along the bottom it's from the Launchpad for Literacy toolkit. So you can see that some of them marry up really, really well. Your rhyming, your alliteration, your rhythm and syllable. So we've got the environmental sounds, your instrumental, your body percussion, your rhythm and rhyme, your alliteration, your voice sounds, and your oral blending and segmenting. So for us as a trust, we heavily promote using aspect 1 to 6 initially, lots and lots, because they need those aspects in 1 to 6 before they can build and develop those skills for their oral blending and segmenting. And then we say as well to have a real key focus on your listening and attention, your rhythm and rhyme and your alliteration, and we highlight those because the better children are at rhyming, the better reader that they can become as well. Okay, so this was another quick discussion when we did the live presentation. We just had this picture of a lovely little dog, and then it was, what skills do we need? So we can see that many children, when they're reading as well, will have a picture and they can use illustrations to help them in some cases. But actually to read the word dog, what skills do they need? So there was a little, bit of time, just a minute to discuss that. And then, it was all, obviously they need to know what sounds, the sounds of phonemes. They need to know that phoneme grapheme correspondence. They need that skill to hold the sounds, to be able to blend and segment. They also need to have visual discrimination strategies as well. So we chose dog on purpose because a D, an O and a G have that circular shape within them as well. And so they need to be able to have that skill of sequential auditory memory as well. So we'll go on to that in a moment. So here we go. So here's the auditory section, key phonic skills in Launchpad. These things are often not taught and can be underdeveloped. And if these are not taught and they are underdeveloped, you will have a problem with children where they'll go round and round with the same few sounds and they won't be able to retain and they won't be able to blend. So auditory sequential memory is the ability to remember things heard in a sequence So I'll use my auditory memory as I read to blend sounds in words and to hold the information as I process and understand it. So what we're saying is, if you had a tray and you had a banana on it, an apple on it, and a strawberry, and you asked a child to pass you, so that they have to hold what you're saying in their head until you've finished, and then grab the things in an order, in the order that you've said. So if you said to a child, or if I said to Andrew, could you pass me the apple, then the banana, then the strawberry. If a child can't blend, this is the first thing you'd go to. And if they can't do that in the order, that's because they need more practice in holding the information within their head. So if they can't do that order, they won't be able to read at and then blend it because they can't hold it. So I hope that makes sense to you. So you want a child to be able to hold as many items in their auditory memory as their age. So that's also for adults. You wouldn't obviously for their age, but most adults can only retain 7 items in their auditory memory, and it does become difficult. I remember doing, like, you know, the generation game and things like that, where you think you're going to win and remember lots of things, but you do forget some. So with children, we would look at their auditory memory, and that would be the first thing that we look at. And then if they're still unable to do that, we would go down to 2 objects. And then if they're still unable, we drill down even further. So this is where the toolkit's so special. And we'd look at the full journey into blending. So I'll show you that in a moment. Okay, so this is another quick game that we did, and it was just a sound lotto game. So again, very cost effective. And it is to listen to sounds in the environment. So we did 2 versions of this game. We did, because they need to get used to tuning into different sounds, because if they're doing it during pre-phonics and they're listening to lots of different types of sounds, then they'll get used to tuning into phoneme sounds, which are similar but different. So before that, when we're looking at pre-phonic skills, we're looking at things like environmental sounds, animal sounds, transport sounds that may sound the same but slightly different. So examples of that would be maybe a tap running and a toilet flushing, or, you know, kind of things like that really. A cockerel and a chicken, a bus and a car. They're similar sounds but slightly different. So it's discriminating between those. And here we are. So these soundtracks are available to easily order, and it is nearly the same but different. Okay, so we have a slide here which shows the developmental order for blending and segmenting. So all these things are interwoven into our pre-phonics deliveries across our trust, in our nursery settings, and for any interventions as well, which link to the Launchpad for literacy as well, with children that are working on the SSP but still need gaps plugging. So we've got compound words, so that's where it starts, where we need to look at words such as books, a book and a shelf, and it makes bookshelf, rain and bow, and it makes rainbow. So we're looking at all those things first. So children should be able to start doing that in nursery, and looking at 2 syllables and 3 syllable words, and then 4, and tying in sequential auditory memory with that. And then onset rhyme as well. It's really important that we're getting children used to all those things before they start being able to blend CVVC words and CVC words. So this journey is a really important journey. And as part of this is where we made our resource packs up. So Andrew, if you just go on to the next slide for me. we had an onset rhyme activity, what I did, which all these activities that we did with adults on the day were used, where you couldn't do these with them nursery and reception children. So we just wanted them to see the practical types of activities that could be done. So for onset and rhyme, we had different cards with different pictures on. So we had the onset rhyme was OG, O-G. So we had that on a neon star and we gave it to the adult, and then they had to go and find all the pictures around the room that we'd done, photographic pictures, and they had to collect like the frog, the cog, the log and the dog. And then we had pin, chin and other things that begin with ended with IN. So it's helping them rhyme, and it's a very practical activity that could be done indoors and outdoors. So that was a activity for onset rhyme. Andrew, the next one. So visual skills as well. Visual attention is a ability. So this is the next area we've focused on as well. So we've had the phonological awareness, which is a blue strand. We've had the auditory, which is a red strand on the poster, and then the purple, visual skills. So this is the ability to take in important visual information while filtering out any distractions, and the ability to sustain or focus on visual information for periods of time. So shift your focus when necessary. And that's particularly important in early years during free flow, because sometimes when it's your purposeful playtime and you are doing an input or pulling or targeting children, it can be noisy in the surroundings. So that was something we wanted to focus on, was visual attention. And then we wanted to focus on visual discrimination and the ability to distinguish similarities and differences. Now this in early years and before pre-SSP will be in different sounds that are nearly the same, or in visual, that's for auditory discrimination, but for visual, it'll be differences in characters in stories or objects or things they find, such as if they come to us and they have found some different leaves that they've been picking outside, or shells and things, and you talk to them about what looks similar and what looks different about those objects. They're learning that skill and strategy to be able to then differentiate between a P, a D and a B when they start their SSP. So it is, and it really, really does work. So again, we've got the visual memory and your sequential visual memory as well. Okay. So we've made lots and lots of packs for the blending journey. So we've had these wallets, what you can see on the screen, and we've done compound words. We've got some wallets with 2-syllable, 3-syllable, 4-syllable word objects in, sorry. And also we've done wallets that have objects in for visual discrimination, things that look nearly the same, but they do have differences. And we've also made wallets for sequential auditory memory games as well. So where I said, could you pass me the banana, the apple and the strawberry, we've just got things out of continuous provision, like a real mixture of things that are appealing to children. So like wild animals, dinosaurs, it could be anything, like even pom-poms and pegs. And you'd put them on the trays for Kim's games and you'd ask them to pass you 3 objects, but just a real range. So it's not boring, and it's very, very practical. So again, for example, these are my children's Peppa Pigs, but to be honest, I've had them for about a year now and they've not noticed that they've gone. So the birth Peppa Pig, it's birth Peppa, but there are some differences and similarities. So what are they? Discussing that with the children and picking up on the things that are similar and the things that are different. As part of Delta, we have a top 30 reads for right from nursery to year 6 for each year group, top 30 reads. So what we did was we decided to do an additional top 30 like Launchpad for literacy friendly set. There's 3 versions. There's a top 30 for visual discrimination books. So they're there on the screen there. So that'd be looking like, it's simplified Where's Wally books really, and looking at patterns and differences and finding differences and looking for clues. So they're learning those skills. And then we had a top 30 for rhythm and rhyme books as well, and a top 30 to support sensory needs for Launchpad for literacy for any children that are well below and need those like pop-up books and skill sets board books. Okay. So again, we did an activity which was similar but different. So we've got lots of pictures, and again, these can be used in those wallets as well. So practitioners will get these sort of lovely pictures where animals can be looking similar because of the colours and things, and but what's different about them. So we did a short activity with the adults, and they just taught about what looked the same and what looked different. Okay, so again, I have lots of these photographs laminated, and then if I think that there are any visual discrimination issues with children, I will take, honestly, I've just got this little box of wild animals as well that I take along with me to support practitioners. But again, most EY settings and things in Year 1 classrooms would have this stuff. And I would talk about how a horse and a zebra look similar but slightly different, a wolf and a fox, and a large giraffe and a small giraffe. So it's picking out their similarities and their differences. Okay. So here is a visual discrimination guide that we made up for our schools as well. So when we were pushing for when they're analysing really and using their phonics trackers to see which gaps are being plugged, how we can support that within provision within classrooms in Year 1, Year 2 and foundation stage. So it is really, really important to note that if we do enhance any provision with visual discrimination activities in tough trays, or we do things along corridors or outside, if it's anything to do with phoneme grapheme correspondence, it would always be the resources that are linked to their SSP in order to keep fidelity and consistency. But if there are any active phonics in tough trays or outside, it is additional to the SSP. So it does not in any way mess any fidelity up to that. So that's really important to note as well. So there are many others, other graphemes that are similar but slightly different, but these are the most common ones. So, you know, for example, your B, D, P, Q, G, and your Y, your A, O, E, and C, because they've all got the circular. R and R and A and I are really common ones as well. And it's what would we do about it? So if you saw things on your phonics tracker and it had or your form of tracking for your SSPs, you may find that A, R and R are ones that children haven't got. There's lots of children that haven't got those. So you may want to do some activities that different, you know, you can discriminate between those sounds with activities and different words. Some of our schools in the trust have actually clustered these sounds together down corridors as well, so that they can point to them as the children are walking around at child height. People have put passwords on doors, and we've invested in more like lanyards where children can wear them with the sound that they're finding difficult discriminating. We've used chalk pens on the back of chairs to support plugging the gaps for visual discrimination. There are lots of different quick, easy activity sheets that you can make up where it's loop the loop, where you would write, for example, if it was I and J, you'd write lots of I's and J's. in a line, and then if you want them to do look at the J, you would ask them to loop the loop round all the J's and miss the I out and things like that. These are such quick interventions and activities, and they really, really do make a difference. Okay. So this is just an example of a snip of phonics tracker. And what it is to say is that obviously all the green are the sounds that children know in this particular cohort. And this was a snip from a long time ago. But the red, that's where you'd be looking to see if there was any patterns between the sounds, so that you could plug and you would know whether it was a visual discrimination issue or not. So by using that, you can inform what your interventions are going to be, and also what changes may need to be made in your environment to plug those gaps as well through high quality interaction and targeting. Okay, thank you. So again, we just had, just to show how practical it should be, we had bingo dabbers, which are always fun to use. And it was a bit of, yeah, it was a nice input that we did, just a few minutes task. And we had lots of ahs and ahs, and we wanted everybody to bingo dab one of the particular digraphs. So again, it's fun, interesting, and it just drills in that visual discrimination strategy as well. Okay, so at the end of this slide, I just want to talk about, we did a guide to our for our trust as well, for head teachers, phonics leaders, EY leaders, and it is just because Launchpad for Literacy is so big, and we see it as like a 5-year rollout really. We wanted to just make a guide, and we regular update this with all the sessions that they could link on, and what the main focus of the session is, who it's being delivered by, and then where to find it, because we have a big SharePoint and Teams, and we have lots of live links to recorded training that we've done. So we've used the toolkit, unpicked it for us as a trust, picked those 3 main areas: your phonological, your auditory, and your visual. And what we've done with that is we've made our own training, lots of training from the toolkit. So we've really personalised it for our trust, which I think you have to do. Our next focuses will be, we've also done lots of things now as well for the environment, with interactions, and we've made progression maps for the new, I call it new EY curriculum now, but obviously it came out in September, so the early years framework. And what we've done is we've made progression maps across the trust, and we've linked them to the Launchpad for Literacy toolkit as well. So each individual school has their own unique curriculum model and their own personalised goals, but they also have these pacing grids that they can use with the Launchpad for Literacy broken down, and what areas would support the different areas of learning. So yes, we just continue to develop it, and we're not about moving it really, really quickly. It's very much about embedding and making sure there's that embedment. And we've just also created updated our book bags that children get. So every child across our trust gets a book bag when they enter nursery, with a real key nursery rhyme focus. But we've also developed a pre-phonics keyring with lots of activities for parents as well, really practical, which also marry up with the Launchpad for Literacy and things that we'd like to focus on and to get children ready. So hopefully many of the children will practice those sort of things at home now as well. So we're making it where it's very parent friendly as well. So that's it. Okay, so want to start any questions or anything, I'd be happy to answer or try to answer. I think that'd be absolutely fine. Yes, I could sort that out, no problem. That's absolutely fine. I could send them through, Andrew. Yeah, that's okay. And actually on the website, on the Launchpad for Literacy website, there is a drop down with some Delta documents already on. What we've done is, with regards to communication and language and vocabulary, which is our next focus to really focus on, we've obviously looked massively on interaction, but we've produced some vocabulary pyramids for provision. So the red words are they for your lowest 20% children or new to English that don't know a lot of language and all that gesturing. We've got red words, and then it moves up to your yellow orange words, and then at the top green words, and for areas of provision. So that also supports practitioners in developing and what vocabulary they're using when communicating with children with different skill set levels, because that's absolutely crucial. So you would need, that's why you need to know your children so well. So for example, in the Play-Doh area, you would be perking or patting or rolling for skill set, for, you know, for your 2-year-old, 3-year-olds. When they're 5, you're going to be manipulating, and you're going to be manipulating the dirt, and you're going to be prodding the dirt, and you're going to be doing all different things that are much more advanced language. So it really supports all that as well. And some of those pyramids are actually on the drop on the website as well.
Claire, if you want to send that list of top 30 through to me, I'll make sure it goes on the portal that everyone has access to.
Yeah.
And
I'm not actually sure, they might be on the website, but I will send them through as well, just in case.
Lovely.
And I know that for definite, there's progression maps that link to Launchpad for Literacy for the early years development matters.
Great, thanks, Claire. Does anyone else have any final questions? I'll just give you a second. Okay, well, in that case, thank you very much to Claire and to Andrew for being here today, especially with your Ofsted visit today.
Oh, it's okay. Yeah, I need to get back to that. And yeah, no, it's been thank you for having me. I always enjoy talking about the toolkit. It's something we really, really believe in as a trust. I think the main thing is not to become overwhelmed by the size of it, and just to personalise it like what we've done, and just to unpick the areas that you feel you need for your settings.
Yeah, that's what I found really interesting today, how you've taken the toolkit and then personalised it for your own schools.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah.
So that's great. Thank you very much. And thanks so much for joining us too.
Thank you, everyone. Thank you.
Enjoy the rest of your day.
Okay, take care. Thank you. Bye-bye.
Thank you all. Bye-bye.